Good morning, everybody. This is the second webinar today. Today is February 8th, 2013, and we're on webinar number 48 now. We just heard Uncle Pete with his number 2 corner, and Wolfgang here is crossing a chasm of Clarion and WinDev. So this is kind of pretty interesting stuff for a lot of us. So anytime you want to start, I'm going to move this away and let you go.
Thank you. Hi guys, I'm glad to be here. I hope you all can hear me well. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Hopefully I can add some value today to a lot of the questions been floating around sometimes on chats, forums and other places I've seen that there were these questions about how to get data out of a Topspeed. The reason we went down this road, just to give you a bit of background, is our application unfortunately interfaces to various different hardware out there using serial ports and other means like TCP, etc. So we've got 57 other EXEs, let's call it, or applications which talk to different hardware out there. Our main application is used to be in Clarion, and we're trying to rewrite it over. But in the process, we're looking at to also do all these interfaces, and we can't do it all in one go. We would like to start moving over as we can. So as each one becomes an issue, we have to look at the interfaces. We rewrite it in WinDev instead of developing further in Clarion. So as you can see, blast from the past, Clarion on the screen. I think one of the things we wanted to look at is to try and get Topspeed in, but Topspeed doesn't make it very easy to get at the data, because firstly we've got over 1,200 licenses out there, and to go and buy licenses for the ODBC driver just for the move over, for the conversion, didn't seem a viable proposition. And because we're doing on a rental support basis, we don't actually outright sell our software, so there's no recouping of the expenses as that. So we started looking at different ways, and the prerequisitions which we wanted to make were sure is that we could get access to the database by using very pretty much close to like what Clarion is doing: the open, the close, the set, the next, the previous, the add, the put, the delete, the clearing of the record table, and the getting, and also of course the logout process and the commit and rollback, which we found is also important to keep certain tables intact. That is, either the whole thing gets committed or none gets committed if it has to be rolled back or if something goes wrong. And we managed quite successfully to get it going, so I would like to show you guys how we did it. Just to give you an overview, I've used the, let's call it the People's app. I can't remember where I got it. I think it's Bruce's IP driver example, or the Clarion People's app example. But let me just show you the tables on it. I'm not going to go and run the application. I think that everybody knows how Clarion works who's sitting around this table today. So what I've done is just use the People app. We added in an extra phone table just to get 2 tables tested against each other, that the set and next doesn't interfere with each other. And then also the People table, I just ended up adding 2 more fields that we could test the date and time out. That was another prerequisition, that the date and time should work across, because how WinDev handles date and time is different from what Clarion handles time as. So that we had to also look into and make sure that works without too much hassle. So this is basically a simple table, and we kind of just put it in just for testing purposes here. The way we go about it is we have to start diving first into Clarion and write a typical DLL application, which was basically this one over here. But firstly, first step, if you're just using it, connecting it straight without the IP driver, it's straightforward. I'm not going to show the difference between the IP driver enabled and not enabled. I'm sure people who do it and know how to do it. So if you want to have it directly connected, of course, you don't need to compile the IP driver, the usual IP underscore, which gets registered with the IP driver. That step still needed. So what you do is you make sure the IP driver, you compile it and do what necessary steps you want there with the tables that you want. And you register with the IP driver as normal. If you don't use the IP driver, it's just a straightforward connection as per normal. I'm not going to go into that. I'm sure there's enough references in the Clarion archives that you can see how it's done. The part that we're interested in is to make a DLL which WinDev can access, and we can do all the bits and pieces in it. The way I go about it is basically, if you want the IP driver, you drop in the IP driver as per normal and set it up also. And if you don't use it, you don't put the IP driver in. The next thing is just to make sure that your project is set up to be a DLL. You say the output is DLL, and I'm sure that is also documented well in Clarion Mag and other resources how to do a DLL, which I'm not going to go into much about it right now. Then the next thing is the decision is to what tables you want to access. In our case, we don't want all the tables. It's just certain tables that had to be with the hardware interfaces, had to talk back. So that is the next step. You don't have to declare all the tables if you do, but if you want to access all your tables, you'll have to do this process on all the tables. The first thing we've done is we just put in this that makes the whole thing work. Just in a nutshell, the group buffer is how we pass the table you want to work on from WinDev to Clarion. This is for the key, any other options what you want to put into it, and then the error. We also wanted to make it very easy in WinDev side that we don't have to have a new way of thinking of how to handle errors. So we just pass the errors which happen when you do the set and next, etc. Gets passed back to WinDev, and you handle it as if you were in Clarion, which you'll see later on. I've tried to clone the methods quite close to Clarion, even though you are in WinDev, so you don't have too much of a learning curve to get things going. This one we just keep over here to keep track of the tables what's open, that we can make sure it's closed off properly when we're done. Next part, you decide which tables you want to declare. As you can see, I've got a record table of people and phone. If you are not interested in all the tables, you can just declare the ones that you want. The way to go about it is, I've got lazy to pass it across. What I do is I say record, or whatever name you want to call it, but I call it a record because we actually want to get the record across. Record and the table name, and then we group it over the people record. So what happens is, what you have in okay, I've not file showing up here, but let's quickly put a people table here that you can see how it looks like. Well, by doing this, what you're saying, declare a group over the people record, you're actually declaring with between the group and end all these parameters, or not parameters, all these variables inside it. So you don't have to go and particularly go and say ID equals long, etc., etc., etc. This does it automatically for you. So what you do is declare each table by using people record, and so the same as a phone record, you say phone record and you clear it over the phone record. As easy as that. So when you go in a dictionary and you end up deciding to change to 32 bits or 60 bits or whatever on the first name, it automatically gets updated here in your DLL without having to declaring this group. Lastly,
I see a template coming.
I'm doing it just for the conversion process. Anyway, then you add in any other tables you want in from your dictionary by just declaring in a group. Last thing we need is this particular mem copy. Otherwise, we don't get things working. We just include it. further down the line over here, we don't do it.
Can you go back? Can you go back to that mem copy, please?
Yes.
So inside global map, you did a. Oh, okay. You just brought that in. Okay.
Yeah, you brought it in. What it basically does is Clarion hasn't got a memory long pointer copy because when you're passing parameters over in a procedure or function in WinDev, it is not passing the string as such, it's passing address. So, sorry?
Andy, what did you say?
Nothing. I just came on, so it just made a noise. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So what it does is WinDev passes parameters. Yeah. No comment on that one. WinDev, when it passes parameters in WinDev, it doesn't actually pass the string as in Clarion does. It points to it by a reference to the particular string. So what we have to do is when we're getting the call from WinDev to actually copy that out into a string, and that's basically what it does. That. All right. Back in the main section. As you can see, we've just declared a whole lot of procedures, and what we've done is here we can see, in a sense, in a nutshell, and hopefully it makes sense quite quickly, that file set is your Clarion set, file open is Clarion open, close, net, etc. So that is all the information on how to access your file. Now in each one, like example, we go in the open section. Let me just
So Wolfgang, you're basically creating an API.
Yeah, basically that's what it boils down to.
So these are all the methods from the WinDev side that you can call through the CLL.
Yes.
Ah. Okay.
That's why I said I wanted to try and get it close to as possible to what Clarion does, that we don't have a steep learning curve or have to try and refactor our thinking of how to do it in Clarion from WinDev. Just we're kind of duplicating Clarion's procedures and functions as for file handling, Topspeed file handling inside WinDev.
Got it.
So let's start with the open one. Let's go in there, look at the source. It's straightforward. You remember that buffer that I declared, I just created because it was a type. We declared it over here, that it becomes into being active, that it works, and then we got the error code. When we pass it across file open, from the WinDev side, we will pass the file's name in here. So example, people file. You'll pass it in, and obviously we have to copy that whole group out into our local buffer. Once we've done that, we look at what table we are looking at, and unfortunately Clarion hasn't got a beautiful thing as WinDev has, is what we call indirection operators. So we cannot do something like this, which I'll show you on the Windows side is beautiful. It's just hums when it comes to that. So unfortunately, we have to look at it and then actually do the procedure itself. I don't know of a better way of doing it, so you have to actually go and look at it.
Hey, Wolfgang, well, you can't have some kind of indirection if you did it inside of a template, because you can look at tables and actually...
Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I didn't go too much into that because the simple fact is we only need about 2-3 tables out of the 120 odd tables which we need, which nearly it's more for data collection points bringing in. So unfortunately, if you have quite a lot of tables, you want to look at it. When we're eventually going to do our last final conversion program, we'll be using this, but then we'll have nearly all the 120 tables declared in here. Unfortunately, but that's the way I'm going to do it. It's just once off, and I'm quite happy with that because once I'm converted, I'm not looking back, so I don't have to worry about it too much. So what you basically do is, then you go and see what table you passed over, and then you end up opening your table. If you pass it incorrectly through, we just have a little simple system which just passes back again, and because most Clarion errors is positive integers, so what I've done is when it comes from our DLL or API as you want to call it, it's always a -1, and I tell you more or less in which function it's happening and more or less what happened that it caused the error. Obviously in Clarion 0 error code means nothing happened wrong, everything's hunky-dory, and if it's positive it's usually a Clarion error somewhere along the line. So what we do is then we go and check the error code. When you open it, if you've got no error or is already open, we consider this as no error and then we don't worry about it. If there's no error, what we do is then once we opened up the table, we clear out the table error just to make sure we don't carry any errors from previous buffer calls. Then we add it into this table which keeps track of how many times we've opened the table. The reason why we're doing it, it's a thing we've learned over time, especially when you're using transactional logging and also opening multiple tables and you don't close it. Sometimes it causes problems in the sense that because you don't close off the Clarion buffers, you tend to sometimes have little funny quirks happening. And I see also the ABC templates, if you look at it nicely, they keep also track of how many times you open a file and keep the count going. And if you should close it outside the ABC template, it kind of warns you and gives you a complaining note which says you're not opening and closing the tables as you should as you go in and out the procedure or the program. So we implement the same scenario here, that to make sure the table gets closed at the end when you go out, that you don't have any buffers hanging. And especially because we're talking between two different applications, we want to make sure that the tables get closed properly down. So that's what this piece does over here. Then so lastly, we once we're happy with that, we pass back the buffer in any other errors which we picked up. This is the opening of it. The closing is a lot the similar way. We close it, pick up any errors, and if it's once again call up the table, make sure we count it down and close it up and finish off. Okay, so we also got, just before we go further, we've got also a knit and kill. Knit, we don't really have much in here. The only thing what I've done is one or two places we don't use IP driver, so if you do want to set any data path, etc., we allow to pass from WinDev through the knit, or you'll see it's a class in WinDev. So in the construct method you can pass in the data path you want to put it to. So if you do want to do any data path setting for normal non-IP application, you do it right over here. Okay. On the kill side, or the deconstruct in WinDev side of things, we go close up, and then we make sure all the tables are closed. If it's not, we also just complain and say, look, not all the tables were closed properly through your code, so we're closing it now. You can always take that out if you don't want that, or ignore it on your side, if you're not worried about pairing up your open and closes, but we do. If you look at ABC templates and Clarion itself, even the old legacy had a little mechanism which counted up the tables where it's open and make sure you closed it on the way out. So we keep to that habit. Okay, the other functionality, like example the set, is all very similar kind of situation. We go into it and we get the buffer out and we look at the table you're working on, and then we say, okay, we copy the record people out into the address and we make sure we got that assigned, deep assignment. Alright, so you don't have to then do field for field kind of thing. Okay, which makes it a lot easier. And in the set situation, we then want to see which keys. Once again, you don't have to declare all the keys if you're not going to use them. Just declare the ones which you want to use that you can go. I've just kept to the very much the keyword, not the file key or the file, because I think 99% of the time we always use the key. But if you do have just a normal file method or whatever, you can maybe on the buffer side, which is in the table key, put in a file name and just pick it up from here. So it's not too difficult to expand on that if you want to. But I think 90% of us will be using the key method of setting and next looping through your data file. That's a set. Next is a similar thing. You go, you pick up what file you're working with, and you say next. Take the record, chuck it into the group, and then put it back into the buffer, which gets passed back to WinDev. Straightforward as that. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I think you get the idea of what we're doing here. The only things which is slightly the get and the next and all that is all pretty much the same, in a sense that you pick up what record you're working, do what you have to do is put it, and then pick up the error and pass it back again. As straightforward as that. It's not too difficult to put that together, hopefully. The login and the commit in that is actually much more simpler. You log out in the sense that you don't pass any buffering across for the table, but you need to pass what files you're going to work on in your logout transaction stream. So what we've done is we pick it up, and then if it is a part of the transaction stream, we put it in the right order, get the logout on the table, put the tables in. Once we've done it, we put the logout time. So you can declare which tables you want to put in your logout procedure, and once we've put it into the logout orders, because remember in Clarion, if you use a logout code, you put the time, comma, file, comma, file, comma, file, comma, and that's the order which it has to be logged out, and we honor that order also in the code here by going through it, picking up every comma and setting the order of those logouts. So we honor that order for you, so you don't have the deadly embrace happening if you keep to I always log out all my stuff alphabetically in the table names, so we don't have the deadly embrace happening, which is a good habit to have.
Hey, before you go further, JP said something about that will be slower than a simple assignment. JP, what do you mean? What was he talking about when you said that?
Oh, okay.
JP, is your mic on? I guess not.
Slower than a simple assignment.
Yeah.
I suppose he's talking about a deep assignment, what we're doing here. You're talking about this, most probably. The deep assignment. I don't know, that's the only thing I can think of.
No, he just, I don't know. Maybe he can type something in, but sorry to interrupt. I didn't want to get too far. Well, maybe he can pick it up later. I thought he was talking about just before what you were talking about, the logouts. So I just wasn't paying attention. Oh yeah, deep assignments.
Okay, yes. I've got no preference. I have never found that the deep assignments really slowed me down. I haven't done really tests on it, so JP most probably knows better in that sense. I'm not too sure on that one. I use it because the simple fact is, even if it takes 10 milliseconds longer, I'm not too worried about it, because usually it's just a put and get kind of thing, like client or invoice updating kind of thing. So I'm not too overly concerned about it. I think if you want to do maybe eventually importing from Clarion to whatever tables you want to put on the other side, maybe that will take longer. And then maybe you want to do a better assignment method than that, but I'm quite happy with this.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I see what he's talking about. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob basically said the same thing.
Same thing. Okay. All right. I just keep it simple because the idea behind it is to make it work in the meantime, and the information will be passed across is not massive loops in it. We're not too worried about that. I think if you want to pull maybe millions of records in, then maybe you have to look at it and make it faster. I've no idea. I've always used deep assignments, so I'm quite happy with that. Okay. Getting back, commit is quite a bit straightforward. There's nothing much to it. You just say commit. There's no parameters really passed through, etc. But we still want to pick up the error and pass it back again if there's any errors happening when you do a commit or rollback. I think I'm going to leave it at that. But I think hopefully if there's no other questions on this section, you can have a look at yourself how it's done. It's fairly straightforward. If you want to implement it, what I've done is to make it easier for you guys. If you go to any particular section and just look for that, search for that, and that's where you must give attention. So in your case, you'll have to put whatever name, record customer, cust, double colon record. So you have to change it to whatever you want over here. So what I've done is in my code, I put this double exclamation @ signs. So wherever you see that, it's a good place to go and see. Like example, if you go to the close and embeds, you don't touch much of the rest of the code, just look at that piece over here. That's what I'm trying to do with that. So you don't, to help you guys to implement it quicker if you need, without worrying about the rest.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah. My method of being lazy to find out what must have changed next time if I need it somewhere else.
Good. Very good.
So to help you guys to implement it, just look for that. Any place with that, just look at it, and you'll quickly pick up, that's my tables, and just put it in and fix it the way you want it.
I guess you could always mark it with a to do too, right?
Yeah, you can, because you can pick it up that way also. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So practically, all it does is we're doing all those talking between the two. And the beauty about it, if you do it the way I've done it, using the group table and the record, once you initialize WinDev, the buffer itself stays put. So you do the next and set and etc. without any issue. Which we had a bit of a problem if you did it the other way. Kind of lost track where you were in the set next kind of thing. So this method works. Okay. So in the result, you compile it, and what you do is you will get people connect.dll, and that you copy into WinDev's directory, the exe I think is usually. You just copy it into that directory. Let me just see. Into WinDev, and at the same time, don't forget to not copy also your IP driver if you're setting up the IP driver into your. But you must probably have that ready if you're having an application with all the exes. So you don't necessarily have to specifically go and do the IP driver if you want only one or two tables. You just declare the one or two you need, and you still access the IP table as per normal. All right. With people connect, you just copy it across, and you put it into the WinDev directory. So I'm going to go jump to WinDev now. Any questions on the Clarion side? For clarification either?
So you would have one DLL for your whole database, right? Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. All right. It's very much like when you're declaring a dictionary DLL or the dictionary DLL. Remember the old Clarion days? You would have the main application, the exe, then the dictionary DLL, and then all the other DLLs which did all the different pieces. So practically that's what you're doing over here.
Okay.
Right. Now onto WinDev. Where did I hide WinDev? There it is. I created a little program. I just called it people, and it's not designed to be fancy in the sense of working program, but to test the different functionality, and you can get the hang of it if you just run the program quickly. Here it is. What I've done is, if you just draw a line between the two, that's a people table, that's a phone table, and you can open the phone table. So if you say do a get now, you'll get an error because there's no key found in the first instance. So even if you put the key in and you get it, it'll say a file is not open. All the usual wonderful error codes which you would get from Clarion itself is passed across back. Okay, so if you open the table and you say get, it will still not found because we didn't give a number there. But let's say number 2, and we do a get. There we've got the person. And if you set it and you say next, obviously because we set it as 2, next, it will be still this name. And you do it again. There you go. Okay. Now, just for showing purposes, this is shown in WinDev style. This is Clarion long date number format. Just that you can see how everything works in the background. And the same over here, when you do a logout commit and that kind of thing, it does all the niceties. Let me just do one thing over here. People, inside the table, I've just put a few records in here, as you can see over here, just for that you can keep track with this. So if you go and say, okay, let's get Arnold's information, and then you put a logout into process, it's active now, and I put something like that, and I put it, as you see in typical style of logout, nothing has changed yet. So if you roll back, it will still not change on the table here. And let's do it again. But this time we put a logout again, we put and we commit it, you'll see Arnold has updated. Okay, so it does all the niceties. You can then also put the people ID in here. The reason why we put 2 of them over here, open, set, next, not a record available, let's say set previous. Do I have no table? Looks like I have no phone numbers. No, I have. Let's just put that one there that we can also have a look at that. So, oh, there's no people ID number 2. Okay, there should be. Set, next. Record not available. Okay. Obviously, because we haven't set the key. Would help, eh? Set next. There you go. And accordingly, there's a people ID is number 2, and that should be the number work, and that's the number here. So if you go according to, and you clear it out to 0, and you set it and say next. Sorry, 0. Set. Come on. Why am I not? Okay, let's clear the table. Maybe that will work better. 1, set, next. There you go. And when you go next one, you'll see it will be that number, next, next, and then be out of record. And at the same time, if you do a set again, let's just get it to 0. The reason why we did the 2 tables is to say set, next, and then you can do the same here and say 1, set, next, that we can see the 2 doesn't interfere with each other, because at one stage the buffers didn't want to work, and when we did a next to the one, it lost the other one. So there you go. You can play with this. It gives you a good idea how it all fits together, and look at the code at the back. Now let's go and have a look at the code. Okay, that's what I was talking about, keeping track of all the open and closed files, and that's where I'm just warning you that not all tables are closed. Okay, so in the background we'll close it for you, because I didn't close the tables myself. As you can see, both those tables are open. Naughty me, I didn't close it. I'm not a good programmer. I didn't pair it up for the close. So there you go. Just to show you in the back of the code, you'll see. Let's just start at the beginning. Let's start at the beginning. In the beginning, we will declare a class, and we call it the class Clarion connection, and that's all the properties in here. And all you do is when you open the window, you instantiate the class and you pass over the DLL you want to have connect to. Simple as that. There you connect it. Next stage is, for example, if you want to open the table. Let's find where to open. Let's just go out here. Is basically Clarion file open and the table you want. And instead of like the if error, I pass the error back straight, and you can see the error code. And here I just say if there's an error, we have opened the table successfully. But practically, that's how easy it is to use it.
So you really don't have the tables in the analysis because everything's just going through this API, right?
Yes, but the beauty of the way we did it is, looking back over here, and you double click on this, we actually have linked it to the table. So
on this side?
Yes, on this side. And I'll show you how to do it.
Otherwise you can't do reports.
The problem is because it's not an H table, etc. It's what we call a structure. You can use it in a certain extent, but you unfortunately have to do your own manual set and next, basically. Because unfortunately, Clarion is still record by record, where H filter and all those things are record sets. So you still got the problem, unfortunately, Arnold. You kind of have to hand code it and put it into a memory table or something like that, and then get the report out or something like that.
Gotcha.
Okay. That's the problem with Topspeed. It's not record sets. It's record by record. Going the old story, huh? What Bruce said, you're asking for a chip at a time instead of a whole packet of chips going to the counter. Anyway, so you get it, and like example, let's do the next, just to give you an idea. What we do is the file next, okay? Then you can show any errors. I'll just put a little procedure which just shows you the error on the screen nicely. Then the next, then all we do is say file to screen. So all that gets updated because we use the structure. The only issue we've got is date and times. There's no real elegant way of doing it. So what I'll do is I'll take the date from the structure out and I dump it into the edit screen. Okay, and when you do want to save it, eventually, you do the same thing, but in reverse. Let me just go back. When you say you want to put and save it, we file your screen to file, so it's back into the structure, but unfortunately the date and time is not elegant. Once again, I put date from WinDev to Clarion, and we take the edits control and then dump it back into the structure. Hopefully that makes sense. Maybe I've approached it a bit the wrong way around. Maybe I should show you how the class works, and it makes more sense. Let's go to this class. But hopefully that makes sense, easy enough sense to see how it's done. We still use more or less typically like what WinDev does, your screen to file, all that kind of beauties, do your error checking, and then you just say put instead of H modify. Does it make sense?
Yep.
And then the same with all the other functionality. Just how the class is made up. Let's go to the class. Right in the beginning, we've got that same structure as what we got in Clarion. The structure code is the same as the group code in Clarion. Okay, that's why we can pass it over and then over it into the group structure in Clarion, and this gets all taken out again. All right. So there again, we declare. But unfortunately, this time we have to declare the whole thing properly. Otherwise, we cannot reference the file to screen and screen to file. That's how we get this working. Okay, so what you do is you take the Clarion structure, put it over here. Wherever there's a long, you put an int. Wherever there's a string, 30, whatever, you say is fixed string, because Clarion works with fixed strings. WinDev does not. It's variable. you just declare string basically in WinDev. So you have to tell it's fixed, otherwise it kind of truncates it. Then the class declaration itself. Over here, that is the DLL what you're going to connect to. When you instantiate it, you pass it across, and then we get the handler where it's once you open the DLL. The buffer we reference that over here, and then you put all the tables names which you are accessing. So we declare record people, like in Clarion, record people, which is a group. We declare it here, but this time we have to declare all the fields within the table. So then you declare it inside your class. Otherwise, if you call it outside on your Windows structure, you can't access the elements of the record structure. So that's why you declare it over here as a structure. All right. Then once you've done that, remember we started by getting going. So as soon as you instantiate the class, then the constructor is fired off. So if you remember when we started over here, we said there it is, and that gets passed over to the constructor, this particular DLL. And once you got the DLL cast across, we save it inside the where is it? In the class, that we remember which DLL it is, and then we get the handle for the DLL, and then you open it. Okay. And then we call the Clarion side, and that's where I say over here, if you want to pass a data path, for example, C:/ data files is here, kind of thing. So you can then set it in the Clarion side where to find the data files if you're not using any IP drivers and you want to be able to chop and change the directory where you're looking at. Making sense? Any questions so far?
No questions. I just wonder. They're just kind of chatting about why you didn't use ODBC, and it's because you are not just doing a total conversion. You're kind of working while you're moving stuff across, right?
Yeah, we've got multiple EXCs, about 50 odd, 60 odd different EXCs talking to different kind of hardware. We in the alarm industry, we're talking to different hardware equipment, different alarm systems, and each manufacturer's got its own quirk and own programs, and we don't mix a lot because of the security reasons. So each EXC has to be separate. And instead of trying to do it all in one go and then in one smack change over to WinDev, we've decided to go the route of whenever there's an update, we put into WinDev and then make it still work backwards to Clarion till we get to the main application, because the main application is quite massive. It'll take a few months to get it all done if you've got nothing else to do. But at the moment, there's always other things to do in between, so it'll take longer. And also another thing that I don't want to use an ODBC driver is the simple fact, not like many other database drivers, it's free. Clarion charges, I think, is $247 for it, for a 5-user license. And we do rental support our software, and we didn't see our way clear just to buy the ODBC driver from Topspeed just to convert data and then throw it away. It just didn't make sense. Got 1,200 sites.
So your data is in a lot of places then?
Yeah, we've got 1,200 sites, different customers, different databases, different.
So that adds
places.
up to a few bucks there.
Yeah, so 1,200 times $247, because you only can buy 5-user licenses at a time.
Yeah.
And for just converting and throw it away, it doesn't make sense for us. So from a cost point of view, and because we do a rental support, we don't end up charging the client because our monthly fee is still the same. So we looked at it and said 1,200 times $247, it pays us to go have a look at it.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yep.
So in a deconstructed method, when you close off your, if you eventually close off, we just deconstruct by closing off your, you just called a deconstructor. The reason why we call a deconstructor, once again, like in ABC templates, we want to close and make sure all your Clarion Topspeed files are closed down, the buffers are cleared and properly written to the disk. And that's what the deconstructor does. It just calls the kill method on your DL, the dictionary DLL which we just created, and make sure all the tables are closed nicely. Okay. To file open is quite easy. You pass a file name through, we put it into the table name, and we pass a buffer across, and we tell it we're calling the file open. Straightforward. When the set method comes, that's where it comes kind of interesting. Indirection in WinDev makes it beautiful. As simple as that. You put the people table over here, we put it into our group, we pass it over as a buffer, and here we just use the indirection. What you've said over here, we indirection, and we say double point, record table name, so it's people, so it will be the people table. So if you say people table, remember you declared it here, it will pick up the people table and pass that across automatically using indirection.
So could you have had like multiple data sources? I mean, you could have converted some of them to, say, SQL, yes. SQLite or something.
Yes,
and just
that's what we've done. A lot of the stuff is already converted, but like I say, we've got so many EXEs out there. It will take us most probably 2 years to get to all of them. So, not stopping the bus, we decided to do this method and convert the bulk of it, and then have the rest done whenever it can be done.
So your interface is still
running
all WinDev. Yeah, it would be in WinDev.
WinDev or a mixture of it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter.
Oh, crazy.
So as you can see, there's very little code. That's open, that's a set. Next is quite straightforward also. You say people, pass it over, and indirection over here. There you go. You pass the people record buffer through. You don't have to do a case to it, when like in Clarion. Same as the file close. You just pass it across. Set file next previous indirection. There we go.
Makes it easier, doesn't it?
Yeah. What we've done is a clear table clear. Remember, you've got different ways of clearing the table. If you put clear in Clarion, that it does the minimum method, or clears all to minimum. If you run this quickly, I'll show you what I mean by that. If you say clear the record to 0 blank, obviously everything is 0 blank. As you can see, the M and F disappeared because there's not anything recognized. If you put it to lowest, you can see it over by the long, and you can see by the date and time. Here you can't see it because it's a 0. WinDev doesn't show a 0 string basically. And if you put it to the highest, obviously you'll see it because it pads it out with 255 all the way basically. Okay, and it shows. So, and then you got basically the table itself, which then clears. The difference between the two, if you remember and recall Clarion days, if you clear that, or the most negative amount value as possible, and if it's this one is basically just 32 or 0 if it's a number, and if this one is a spelling mistake, to the maximum. So if it's a long, it will be some big number. If it's a byte, it will be 255, that kind of thing. And that where if you say just a table, it will clear out all the fields in the table, including the blob and any memo fields. So that's the different types you can get. And we just used the option method. So if you by default don't declare it, we clear out the whole lot. If you do a -1, 0, or 1, we just do the record and ignore the memo and the blob fields as per Clarion. Okay, that's slightly deviated from Clarion in a sense by the option over here. All right. Get table straightforward. Put table is straightforward, as you can see. Add tables again straightforward. And you're deleting is straightforward.
Well, you gotta really know your basics on both sides. Like you know, you understood this thing really well to do this. This is kind of a good exercise, actually.
Yeah. Coming to the Clarion date, there's two. I just want to bring in the picture over here. If you bring it from Clarion, remember Clarion only starts at 4, and that's the maximum number it will ever go to. So if it's outside of those numbers, we put a blank through to WinDev because it's invalid date anyway. When we pass it back from WinDev back to Clarion, we say if it's a blank, remember in Clarion that means a 0. And the difference between we get the date from WinDev, which is usually a string declare kind of method, then convert to the integer and minus 362 to get Clarion data out of it. And we pass it back to Clarion. Okay, the difference. Am I still here?
You are.
Yeah.
Just mute
you're
every so often.
Okay, I just went awfully quiet. The time in Clarion, as we know, they once again, if it's a 0, Clarion views it as not declared, and then any number between 1 and 2460000 is a valid time for Clarion. So we say over here, if it's between those valid dates, then we convert it and minus 1, because WinDev starts not at 1 to this big number. It starts at 0 to one number short of 864. So it will be 8639999 kind of thing. So we convert it to then WinDev. If it is a 0, as in Clarion, which means it's not declared, then WinDev views it as a blank entry. Once again, to get from WinDev, we say if it's a blank entry, we put 0. Otherwise, we convert it to an integer and add 1 back in again to make it a valid Clarion date. Time, sorry. Simple as that. All right. The only other one I want to just bring attention is to the logout. The logout, we've got a similar structure as Clarion, which is usually the timeout and then the table names, as you can see here. So we put the timeout into the options field and the table names in here, and we just pass the whole batch through. And then on the other side, we pass it out in the right order and then make sure it logs out in the right position. And that's as simple as that. As you can see, WinDev is a lot quicker to declare it all and get it all working. A lot less code. So to implement this application in your own program, all you have to do is practically leave all the other code alone, nothing to be done over here. The only place you have to change is basically here, here, and this. That's it. And then you
just the record structures, right?
That's it. Then you input
and the connection. Yeah.
Yeah, and the connection when you declare it, when you come into the application, when you declare it, there you go. And the rest gets done by the class. Simple as that.
Hey, Marty asks, you know, first of all, we think that what you did here just kind of makes you learn the basics of WinDev and show you different things. But in clearing the time, what's the difference between a cleared time or midnight? You know, what is...
Okay. Clarion, if you have... let's bring that Clarion table in here. Let me just show you over here. If you declare as a 1 here in the Clarion table, that is just after midnight. And Clarion, let's just put in here quickly 8640000. That is midnight according to Clarion. So if you go and change the picture over here to time over 4, you'll see that is just before midnight, and that is then midnight, sorry. And if you let's do another one over here. Let's just get back to let's just quickly go back. Come on, picture let's make it minus 13 again. I just want to put a 0 in here just to show you. Save that, go back, time 04. You'll see it doesn't show here really properly. Let me just see the blank, I think it is. There it is. That's right format. People don't realize there's a difference between a midnight and a 000. If you don't put a blank in here, you don't really see it in Clarion that you haven't entered the time. So get into the habit in Clarion to put the B after your time. So if you haven't got an entry made, it should show you blank. If you don't, it tends to show 000, which is not strictly correct as midnight goes. Because in Clarion, that is a 0, and that is just before midnight, and this is midnight itself, which is a 1. Okay. Where WinDev again works on the basis, it goes from 1 through to just before 8644, 3999, whatever, and the 1 itself is midnight. Okay, it's slightly different. Does that answer the question?
I think so.
I hope so. Because a 0 in Clarion means you haven't entered at the time in. WinDev, a blank is not entered.
Marty, do you have a mic? Marty has. Marty, I'm going to enable your mic if you got one. Marty? Marty, you have a mic? Okay. So WinDev, Chris says WinDev 0 is midnight or blank.
Yeah.
0 or blank gives you midnight.
Oh, it's blank.
Yeah, like you look at
the time structure in...
Yeah, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. I was going to say the time structure is all zeros for midnight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, anybody that wants to talk, let me know. What you have to do is go up on top and click on the mic, and then you have to accept the Adobe thing on to test it. Okay.
Okay, let me just try and see, but I'm not following the conversation. I've missed something here.
Andy, do you want to summarize what people are saying?
Okay.
Sorry, talking and trying to read at the same time doesn't kind of work.
And I gotta look and see which one's good here.
Yeah, people are talking about times, and they're trying to do blanks and.
Okay.
You can't do a blank in Clarion because it's a numeric value in Clarion. So, and basically in WinDev, you're actually storing time and date as a string value. If you look at it, I have a global deal that says empty date time, and all it is zeros in double quotes. But basically what they've done in WinDev is store each of the values of the date and time like that. Now in Clarion, you're storing the numeric value of the date since, I think it's December the 12th, Girder or something, 1908 or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is. So if you're going to have to translate that, then you're going to have to do the calculation, and I've done it in MS SQL as well as other languages to do the calculation of the number of days in between, and then you can translate one date to the other. Probably, Wolfgang, a little blurb out there on a calculation translation of a Clarion date to a WinDev date and back and forth would be a nice little pop-up there that you can do. You know, unless you've gone already and I was off getting coffee or something.
Well, he does have the time.
Yeah,
I think he does have the date.
If you look at
he does have the calculation.
Yeah. Okay. If you look over here, just open the table and just get a key here. Otherwise, it complains. Set next. Set. Oh, I didn't open it. Set next. You'll see this is the date here, and that's a Clarion format. If you do the next year, you'll see that's the next one, and so forth. Oh, I didn't say this.
So you're doing the
say this. No,
yeah, he had it in his code.
Yeah,
let's just do it from the beginning. Set next.
I was off making.
You'll see over here. Yeah, see there's that time. The next one, it will be a 0, and it automatically also puts a blank for WinDev, because a 0 in Clarion means just that. It's not declared. There's nothing entered here.
Right.
That's why I always say to guys when they do a date declaration, put a B behind it, because that gives you a distinct difference between actual value entered and no value entered in Clarion.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
And you have to reset to 0 on the time on a WinDev side to get it to go to a blank.
That's it. So if you go to the next one over here, you'll see that's just before midnight, and that's perfectly, according to Clarion, at midnight now. Oh, well, not midnight, just hundredths of a second before midnight. Now the next one, which is midnight for Clarion, which is a 1, in WinDev is a 000, and you'll see in WinDev it is declared as a 0 or a string of zeros.
Right. And I kind of like that,
because WinDev's WinDev's declaration, they don't use integers or in their way of calculations. They actually use a string. When you say today's date is date, it's actually a string that they handle around all the time. It's not like Clarion, which is a long integer.
Yeah, and what they do is you pull out the whatever pieces you want. It's great because you can use the string slicing of either one of WinDev. And
I love it.
Pull out a chunk.
Another thing you can do. Yes, the other thing which you can do, which just going into the code, which I love about it, is if you've got like a date, so W date is date, and you want to update that date, you can do WK date, and you can do like dot month, and you can assign it straight away like that. So if you've got like the 21st of the 6th 2000, and you say month is that, now all of a sudden it's now 26 January 2000. Simple as that. And if you want to just move it in a month on, you just add it like that. Then it, instead of that kind of thing. So it's much more.
Yeah. Do you remember this though about the dates when you declare one? When you declare a date in WinDev, it assumes the current date. If you don't null it out or make it a 0,
that's the other thing.
It will assume the current date.
And you can change it if you want to. They have a statement which you can redeclare it, that it goes to a null, as I put it, or empty, or a particular date. I kind of like it because invariably when you want a date is usually the date what you want. It's today's date and time in most instances.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris, you're absolutely
kind of
correct.
For me makes sense.
It's just people aren't quite used to putting in equals blank blank or equals zeros, to null it completely out or whatever. They're not used to doing that, and all of a sudden, hey, how come I getting a date here when I don't want one?
Yeah. That's why if you declare a date specifically, you want to have it blank, you would put something like date is date equals, then you do that if you want to make sure you got a blank date. Or you can use date, what's it, default, date time default, that's it. And then you can declare it by default what you want. Which, if you don't like it, you want to have a Clarion method, there it is, you can tell it to go a particular way. By default, it will always go that date then. Or whichever date you want, blank if you want to put in.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions of implementing or trying your hand at this?
Who brought the donuts?
Hopefully that helps other guys who want to kind of convert their data just across without going the expensive route of buying ODBC drivers.
So, I mean, you wouldn't even call this a conversion. You would almost call this like a meshing of some kind, because you're still working with those data files, right?
Yes. You can literally work with the live data files. That's what we're doing.
But and the reason why you're doing it is because you want to have the new interface in WinDev.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because all your changes.
I don't want to develop anything in in Clarion anymore. I'm getting to a point where I'm getting really spoiled in this one.
I like that.
Well, damn. You made Andy's day.
Yeah, it's like this indirection, all these little things which you don't think, like Pete also mentioned earlier about refactoring and etc. And also just the fact that I can stand here, like example, I want to see file open. Hell, what did I do? Let me just take this out here. So example, like what the hell did I do over here? You just stand there in F2, you push F2, it jumps to it. And you can go and see, oh, okay, that's what I've done. And control F2 and you're back again where you were. It's so lightning fast to actually follow your code. You don't end up going to where and say, oh, damn, what do I want to look here for? You don't even think anymore, damn, where I want to go or damn, where I want to come back to. You just F2 and etc. etc. So there's a lot of time-saving stuff in here, which I get tons done in the same space of time.
So are you using the debugger as you go, as you compile?
Yes, I use also the test facilities a lot because that is I love this unit testing. It just is so slick and so nice. And while you're debugging, you hover over this value over here, and you can actually see what's happening. It's phenomenal. I don't know if you know that. If you run it, and it's let's do say next.
Yeah. Put a breakpoint, and then you can see.
And so open it, set it, next, and you can step through it, and we can then see over here. Step through it. Of a table. Now you want to see what that variable is. You hover over it. There says equals people. And that's what you passed over. Go across to the next step.
Makes it easier than that.
Watch here. If you don't know what I've done here, hover over it. You see, oh, it means now that.
You don't have to do a debug view.
And it's, just this alone, to be able to see what your variables are doing at any given time. Like example, this buffer over here is a group, as you can see. And you can see inside the group here. Here it is. There's table name equals people. The other variables is not declared anything in there. Other part of the structure, the other variables in the structure is not used. It's blank. But if you put the others in there, there's a good example of one. I'm kind of think now which one is it. Just say run. Yeah, like set. Okay, I haven't got debug on set. But what I'm trying to say is you can follow through and see the variables very easily. Oh, here's a good example also. Next. You come back. And then you can see I'm stepping through the error message, coming back.
But you point to... Oh, yeah, but on the right side, you can also watch stuff. On the bottom. Go to the very bottom.
Oh, yeah.
You can do your watches there.
Yes.
You can set what you want to look at, and you can see it there.
But I find it, even though it's here, it's for me easy to go there and say, oh, that looks the right date.
Well, you do.
I use watches when I'm pinpointing exact stuff I want to look at.
There are a few indirection fields that you cannot see in the mod in that area. Like if you have it in certain areas you can't get to it, so the highlight will let you see it where that won't.
Just hovering over it. Yep. Yes. Gotcha.
Nice. And it's also when you're following the code, just following with your mouse as you read the code, then bouncing your eye up and down the whole time also saves you someone's mental fatigue, actually.
Don't show your excitement there, Wolfgang.
Okay. No, look, I made my all kudos to Clarion. I made my living out of it for years and years, but I think the tool is showing its age. I still kind of find it sad that they haven't kept up, but yeah, that's unfortunately the way it is. We have to follow what my customers want and what they demand, and that's more in the web direction, and also other functionality which in Clarion is not that easy to implement. With that said, if I look at my templates and everything put together, and the guys say Clarion is expensive. Yeah, WinDev is expensive. Yes and no. If I put together all my templates that I've bought and I on a regular basis update it, I can nearly buy WinDev all 3 modules for the same price. As a matter of fact, make a big saving. So from a financial point of view, plus the functionality point of view, it's a no-brainer. I'm sorry to say that.
Well, the only thing I agree with you. The only thing that bothers me about the cost of WinDev is if you use SQL and you want to use the native driver and you have multiple servers and you got to buy,
well, then you be
all
smart.
the native drivers.
You don't necessarily have
You got
to
to use Postgres or
MS
something
SQL.
then.
Yeah. And the thing about it is the native driver is for MS SQL is really only kind of mandatory when you're running it outside your environment. In other words, if I'm going to jump from my machine here across the internet, it becomes
remote
fairly
access. You
important to
mean?
have. It's remote access. If you're running local local system in an office with a server sitting over there, the ODBC works just fine. Okay, it really doesn't have that much of a difference. I cannot tell a huge difference in the speed. The biggest thing is also, especially when I implemented all the classes, it really didn't make hardly any difference at all. Okay, so the biggest thing that as far as the MS SQL is that if you're running a remote system, if you're running a having to go a remote office coming in via VPN or something like that, then the native driver becomes much more important. Right now, with the tools that are out there,
but not a local SQL server, right?
I don't think it's necessary for local SQL servers. Certainly not necessary if it's an MS SQL on your own machine. I don't think it's necessary.
Well, what about VM to VM? VM to VM is fine, right? In the same server.
If it's on the same server, but then again, if it's a VM to VM, you don't know if they're on the same server. But
that's
now,
what I'm saying, because I tend to make it a separate VM.
Yeah, but let's take 2 minutes on that. Number one, when you're talking about the fact is that you got MS SQL out there, it is a choice, especially now in 2012. It is a choice on your company whether or not that you want to pay that kind of money. If you go get a standard license for 2012 MS SQL, you're in the $20,000 range now. So the way I kind of look at it is, if the guy is willing to spend $20,000 to $25,000 to get standard, he's not going to fuss to get one more $1,000 for a native driver. Okay, if he can't justify the cost of $25,000 for an MS SQL, then you got the wrong database for him anyway. Okay, simple as that. So now with today's methodology, especially the way WinDev works, and how I've actually embarked upon setting up MS SQL and Postgres, and in essence, because of the classes that I wrote for the file management classes, all you do is switch. It doesn't matter to it whether it's coming from one or the other. Okay, so the end user on the front end has no idea whether he's going to Postgres or he's going to MS SQL. Makes no difference. Okay, and what that means is that I can pick and choose either one based upon their needs. And it becomes more, it could be a hyperfile. It still wouldn't matter. nobody would know the difference. Okay, because the front end takes it from the classes instead of trying to access the data directly, and the classes handle, oh, you're using this driver, we do it this way, you're using this one, do it this way. Simple as that. You've got no more issue. It shouldn't be an issue.
Okay. Just quickly, there's a question from Bob about in connection with .dat files. I don't see any problem with that. Once again, if you can make a DLL as a dictionary DLL, you can pretty much use any of the file drivers which Clarion offers you.
Yeah, it could be SQL even, right?
Yeah, got the back.
Oh, you got a crazy.
There you go. So, Bob, I don't see a problem with that. I don't have an issue. And then somebody asked also in connection is, well, I'm going to charge for it. No, there's no charge for it. It's just giving back to the community for the guys who helped me, for the appreciation of it. I'm doing the same as Pete, just releasing as open source. So you're welcome to use it. I'm going to zip that all up and give it to you, Arnold, if you would host it.
I'll post it up. Hey, Chris says, does it require IP driver? And your answer probably is no.
No. Like I showed you right in the beginning, and also when you do the net over here, which is basically in Clarion's a net. In this case over here, we construct and deconstruct. If you use the options section here, that's why I say data path or top speed or any other files for startup if requirement. So if you're not using IP driver and you want a particular point to, because we've got certain directories we do certain stuff in, so we have to change on the fly the ones which we don't use the IP driver for. And even with the IP driver, you can put it over here and pass it over to the IP driver, which does a subdirectory opening or whatever. You can pretty much pass what you want over through the table option. Okay, pass it across, and then we pass it across on that side. And then when you get to over here, you'll see I'll pass it out for you. Actually, yeah, it was basically. Let me just put a note here. It will be G buff. Okay, let's just do this first. Get the buff table option, and that's where you'll have that path or whatever you want to mess around with. So there you can say set path in open bracket gbuff table option, whatever, or manipulate it further whichever way you want it. Okay, that's the reason why we created the init and the kill processes that allows you to redirect it to wherever you want it. Hopefully that makes sense and helpful.
Yeah, if anybody wants to take it further and put it in a template, we can have another webinar. but you know, well, the thing that I like about this is that, one, you really have to understand what's going on to do this. And so the next step is understanding this, then understanding templates to build it. So you kind of have like your indirection in the template to kind of generate the code on the Clarion side, right? Yeah. So that it makes it easy on both sides. That's all I'm saying. Right, Andy?
Arnold, I'm giving you a little bit of homework. Darn it, man. I can't give you everything on the plate.
No. I'm just saying for the next person, I'm just...
You know, the way I kind of look at it is if I need to go back over to Clarion and write code that I'm going to use maybe a few times, I'm pretty much going around the block and across the street, down the alleyway to get
No, I'm talking about like if I have 50 tables, I just want to be able to, like I was writing in the chat, if I had 50 tables, I would pick from the table list and I says, gen me the code for it. That's all I'm saying.
I would use DM stuff.
The reason why we've got DM, but the reason why we didn't go for that kind of thing also is the fact that we wrote an application which does the conversion on site, and we got, like I say, all our sites is different places all over the world. It's about 1,200 sites. So for us to remote in and just do it and that kind of thing is a bit of a pain. So we actually do it inside, and then the soft does the whole conversion, everything, and that's it. And we're done. And that's the reason why we went this route.
Well, Chris Cords is going to write the template, and because we've been talking about it, so he's going to write it, and then we're gonna test it out. We're gonna test it out, right, Chris?
There you go.
We're gonna do a little webinar and say, based on this is how you write the templates. Now you have template to indirection. Beautiful, beautiful.
Okay, there you go.
Mate.
Chris, just make sure it also writes a template into WinDev, eh?
Okay, any other questions or what Chris? What are you saying? WinDev code template. Oh my God.
Yeah, copy paste that section of the structure declaration. There you go. Simple.
Yeah, I already wrote the WinDev template chain in Clarion, to generate WinDev code.
Now you do a mid statement between the two blocks of when you do it, and you just copy and paste it into WinDev. Copy from here to there, kind of thing.
Oh no, I just inject it into the IDE. I mean,
okay, gee whiz. Some people.
Press key. Using press key.
Yeah.
Okay. We need that coffee now, Andy. All right.
Well,
Thank you so much.
I hope you had fun with it and let your projects flow. Make lots.
That was really good. That was enjoyable, Wolfgang. Thank you for sharing. This is really good.
Pleasure.
Okay.
Enjoy it. Okay. Thanks for putting out with us.
Okay. Have a great day, everybody. See you next week.
Enjoy that. Bye.